to the Rugby Pod. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual, but we are coming to you a day late because of all the developments around European rugby. But how's your week been, guys?
Jim, how are you, son? You don't sound pumped. I need some energy from you. What have you done?
I've not said anything yet. How do you know if I'm pumped or not?
Body language.
I'm sorry. I've got my Manscaped t-shirt on. It's a little bit big. Maybe that's why it's looking as if the energy's low and the coat hangers has been put instead of my shoulders. But all good. All good. I was at a game on Friday night. It could have been Saturday. It could have been Sunday. All the days rolled into one. But anyway, it was #always Edinburgh versus #Warriors, We Are Warriors Nation, Glasgow. All good to go, albeit very cold. I delivered to the millions the insight, the knowledge that basically Tim Groves, the producer, produced on the notes, which he does as well. I just regurgitated that, thought I'd smashed it, game called off. Not that it's about me, but the game was called off. It was -7 degrees, so that was a bit of drama. Spiked up the adrenaline. So that happened on Friday, Saturday or Sunday. I don't know what day it was.
Why was it called off?
Because it was -7, Andrew.
It got called off because it was too cold, is what you're saying?
Frozen pitch. Here's one for you.
See, that's different. Frozen pitch. But I thought it was plastic.
Here's one for you, though, having you said that. Did you know that, I mean, this is as exciting as life gets at the minute. Did you know that you can salt an artificial pitch? Did you know that or not?
I didn't know that, James. You are the root of all knowledge, aren't you?
I am the oracle. I'm the oracle.
Of course, you can pour salt on it to try and defrost a pitch. I didn't realise a 4G pitch could get frozen.
Well, it did. It was -7. I don't know whether it's seen temperatures like that or it expected temperatures like that, or if it even has a brain or a heart. But either way, it was canned at lastminute.com, but they got a real treat, the viewers. They got the game replay from the week before, which was the 0-0 classic up to 60 minutes. But it's not all doom and gloom because it's been rescheduled because something else has happened, but we can get onto that.
Did you not just breathe all over the pitch with your absolutely atrocious breath? It would have defrosted it in about a second.
My mouth was that dry. That genuinely I would have struggled to even drink a glass of water. It was literally like I'd cardboard for teeth. But in other news, JJ's birthday at the weekend.
Happy birthday, JJ.
The Big 10. He's out the boot. He's been doing some rehab.
Big party?
No. No, what do you buy a 10-year-old, you ask me? So we've done a deal with him. We've done a deal with the devil. We've taken away his Nintendo Switch because, like everyone in lockdown who's got kids, our kids are on screens too much, right? So this is the big debate, which is always the debate, not even lockdown, but how easy is just to give them the iPad and say, right, get on YouTube, watch whatever you want. Twins, get on Peppa Pig, like the most annoying thing, here's some headphones, and you could just sit and watch daytime TV. So we ain't doing that. So with JJ, because he started to be a bit naughty, not naughty, he's a 9-year-old lad, he's a 9-year-old lad, is we basically did a deal with him that if we get rid of the Switch, he can have something that he's been asking for a while, which is a bearded dragon. So for all you reptile lovers and animal fascinated people out there, whatever you want to call, what do you call people that are into animals? Zooists.
Be careful there.
Animalists.
Animal lovers.
Animal lovers. All you animal lovers out there, you'll know what a bearded dragon is. So I'm like, yeah, well, here's the deal. Give me a Switch. We'll sell that on eBay for £100, £1,000 if it's got that bloody flappy feature game on there that's worth that much. Here's one for you. I'll get you it. I'll get you a bearded dragon for your birthday. Happy birthday, 10th birthday. So we've got a lovely little thing. Beck put the tank up that it lives in, all flat pack. She sorted that. I just went and got the bearded dragon. Did you know that they grow as long as your arm and live to 15?
I do now. You've told me, Jim. Again, you're the oracle.
Matt, I am the oracle. At what point, when he gets to 20, and if he has a girlfriend or a boyfriend at that time, is he thinking he's moving into his new flat with a bearded dragon lizard that's the size of your arm? Who's looking after that? Me, the animal lover.
That's the commitment. That is the commitment that a kid has to adhere to if he wants a pet.
So my excitement levels has got to the point where I'm just in front of his tank looking at Rex, original name, looking at Rex, through the tank for about an hour, and then I leave his room, and then I go downstairs, go on my phone, and then I walk back up the stairs and then down the stairs because you can't do anything.
What do you feed the dragon? Live mice or anything? Or
well, I don't know if you can say this because of the rabbit gate that basically propelled the podcast to where it is now. You feed it live grasshoppers. That's quite interesting as well.
Really?
Yeah. If
How do you get them?
David Attenborough, you have to buy from the pet shop. But this is the thing, Andy Rowe. You asked the question: £10 a week to feed the bearded dragon that is the size of a hamster now, but will grow to the size of, I'm looking at the arms, Goodey's arm. Ooh, what do they eat? Do they eat mice? Oh no. Anyway, so we've dug ourselves a bit of a hole, but JJ is no longer on the screen. He's 10 and he's got a bearded dragon called Rex. So it's like a zoo in our house. We've got the dog Odie, we've got the hamster Tiny, and now we've got Rexosaurus or whatever his name is. So that's as exciting as my week has gone.
Well, I had a bit of an issue on Saturday. So all you can do, right, is go for a walk with the kids in the park. You can't literally, there's nothing else to do. So when the nanny's here, it's great because she takes them out for the day. I get on with my daytime job and do a load of work. But I find myself pacing around the house a lot, just looking out the window, staring.
Are you sweating? Are you sweating when you're pacing?
Well, yeah, I am, because the missus has it on about 25 degrees. Tell global warming that. But it's like anything. I had this debate with her the other day. I reckon every bloke that I know has this sort of debate with their missus. The missus wants the house like a sauna, and the bloke's trying to open the windows because you're sweating. And she sits there, 25-degree heat on the underfloor heating and the central heating, all this stuff. I'm sat there sweating, and she's sat there in a bloody dressing gown. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Who wears a dressing gown in 2020 or 2021? What do you mean a dressing gown?
Well, at night time, she puts a big dressing gown on, mainly so I can't get over there and on her sofa and touch her.
Keep you at bay.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what you're saying, not that there's much going on in our house anymore. It was all right at the beginning, but what you're saying is if we don't want any social contact, any loving contact, get the missus a dressing gown.
There you go. But anyway,
well, Christmas is 12 months away. That's what Bet's getting.
Yeah, I sit there in shorts and t-shirt, sweating my ring off, and she's in a big dressing gown. But then, so I reckon do you have that debate with your missus around how hot the house is or not?
Yes, I sleep with the window open, starkers, and
bush everywhere.
Could you imagine the sight? Toes are literally, toenails ain't been clipped for about 6 months because my back's that fucked that I can't clip them and no one will clip them for me.
How lovely. But yeah, so Saturday we took the twins out for a walk because that's all you can do. And I was at a park, Windsor Great Park, not far from us, stayed local, obviously. And I'm walking along and I've got the twins, their scooters that they had for their birthday. And absolute nightmare. So as soon as one goes in front of the other one's screaming, daddy, Bella, stop, she's in front of me. And I'm just trying to play it. There's loads of people walking around and I'm just getting, the rage just grows inside you when you kids
I know.
Just screaming for no reason. And as I'm walking along, I can see these three lads that look like brothers, to be fair, walking along. And they were like, Goodey, love the pod. How big's Jim's bush? This is in the middle of Windsor Park.
Why are they so rude?
Oh, exactly. I'm walking with the missus and the twins are fighting. And as they've said it, I'll just give them a little nod, a little wave, said hello, socially distanced, obviously. And Isabella, it's like, right, Olivia, I'm going to bite you, and starts running after her. And we're in public. People are looking at me as a dad. What do? You have to try and run after them, don't you?
Just shout at them. That's what everyone else is doing now.
So everyone's just looking at you. Your kids are screaming. One's trying to bite the other one because she's gone too far in front of the other one on the scooter. And that's as exciting as life gets. But one bloke did ask me how big's Jim's bush, and I said it's absolutely horrific at the minute.
It's gone.
It's growing out his t-shirt.
It's gone. It is gone. It is literally, I don't know why you say to the bone, but with a layer of skin. It's gone.
There we go. So to the lads asking the question, there's your answer.
Well, Manscaped are supporting us again this year. So make sure you're set up for 2021 with the right tools for the job. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for their below-the-waist grooming with their Perfect Package 3.0. It comes with the Lawnmower 3.0 with its waterproof and skin-safe trimmer, which reduces nicks to your two best friends, as well as the Crop Preserve Ball deodorant and moisturizer, and the Shed travel bag, and the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. Have you tried those, Goodey?
Do not eat them.
Mate, I have. Do not eat them. But it's funny enough you say that, because I haven't told anyone this really yet. Jim knows about it, but I'm going for an operation on Friday on my ankle. Basically having it repinned and plated and straightened out again. Pretty big operation off the back of being overweight for 18 years playing professional rugby. Now, I had to get the old Manscaped out last night, and I was chatting to the missus, and she's like, "What are you going to do next week when you've had your operation?" Because I'll be in bed for 4 or 5 days, leg up, absolutely fucked, won't be able to move. And I said, "Well, Carolyn, you'll be able to give me a bed bath, won't you?" She's like, "No, absolutely no chance am I going anywhere near you." I said, "What do you mean? You're my good lady. You have to look after me.
Where's the dressing gown?
Just give me a bed bath." She's like, "No, my mum's coming over. She can do it." And I'm like, "Oh no!" Got into my head that actually could happen. So I got my Manscaped out, and I've given it a full trim.
What, for Carolyn's mum to come over and give you a bath?
No, not for Carolyn's mum. Not for Carolyn's mum, because effectively I started thinking about it, and I started thinking, if I go into surgery and you go in with those gowns on, imagine if you got a bit of a bush and you're selling Manscaped as an amazing product on our podcast, and the nurse, because you don't wear any pants underneath, do you? You just let it all hang out, and maybe the gown just blows open. You don't want to be seen there in the middle of a hospital.
It's false advertising, mate.
Exactly. So she's had a full trim downstairs. He's had a full trim downstairs, and yeah, like you, Jim, there is not a hair in sight.
Do you not think it's weird that our elders, like if I showed my parents the Manscaped weapon or the tool of choice, they would think that we are absolutely mental.
Different generations, James.
It's a generation game. That's what it is.
Goody, do you get asked to go full nude under the gown when you go on the operating table, or do you just do that by choice? Because it's for your ankle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just by choice. They give you those pants, don't they? They give you those horrible pants that are basically like a piece of cloth. Not even a piece of cloth. It's like a piece of... What are the pants, Jim?
They're like a netting, like a mesh.
They give you like a mesh netting pant, which are horrific. So I'd rather just
especially if you've got a bush as well, because all the little holes it just pops through the meshing.
Yeah. So I'd rather just go let it all hang out, and it's clean as a whistle. You never know. The doctor might have a look. I know he listens to the podcast, so I hope he doesn't have a look. That would be beyond the patient and client boundaries.
And take a picture as well. We had this joke with Richie Gray once. I don't know whether we can say it, but we probably can. But he went in for a surgical operation. Basically, something was too long on his something, so they had to chop that something off, put it in a jar. Let's just say it was tonsils, but tonsils of not the tonsils that we think. And we kept joking that in his prime, he was really famous, that the doctor who did that and who took off his tonsil bit, the thing that just pretend that they're called tonsils, that bit, they had them in a jar and they're going to sell them on eBay if he made it to the levels that Marotoji has. But he hasn't made it to the levels of Marotoji because he didn't want to be that famous. But someone has got Richie Gray's 4 tonsils in a jar.
Wow.
What is it with you Scottish people and long foreskins?
Who's got a long foreskin?
You.
It's only me. Only me. Richie's got no tonsils, mate.
Well, Goody's going into the operating theatre looking clean, but you can come out of quarantine looking clean thanks to the Lawnmower 3.0. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code rugbypod at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code rugbypod at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Well, we can chat about the Premiership action shortly, but the Champions and Challenge Cups have been suspended after the French government weren't happy with the top 14 clubs taking part. Is this the right outcome, do you think, boys?
Can you believe it, that the French, of all people, have come to the fore and said, no, we not do. What do you mean? You've had fans in the stadiums. You've been almost sold out in some of the games that I've seen, and then all of a sudden, they've put the foot down. It shows, Goody, do you not think? It shows the power that the French Rugby Federation and the leagues have. Do you not think? I know there's a lot of other stuff to maybe throw into the mixer in terms of how everything's structured of finances, but they are their own kind of entity, if you like. But they've got a lot of power, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. And I suppose, the English clubs have as well in that respect, because they're an individual league. So it's very much the clubs as opposed to the unions that are in charge now. For me, it's taken too long to come to this decision. I was chatting to a director of rugby in the Premiership yesterday, and he's like, "How do you prepare a squad on a Sunday, on a Monday, to understand what's going to go ahead the following weekend, whether it be a Premiership game, a Champions Cup game, when you just don't know anything?" So, yeah, I mean, am I surprised it's happened? Do I think it's the right outcome? I 100% believe it is the right outcome under the current circumstances of the situation of the pandemic across the whole of Europe. You look at the figures that are coming out, it's horrific what you're seeing. So in terms of, as Jim said, I commentated on a game at the back end of last season, Toulon against Leicester Tigers in the Challenge Cup quarter-final, I think it was, or semi-final. And it was down at Toulon, and there was 10,000 people in the stadium when there was only supposed to be 1,000. So
it looks like 10,000. Let's just make us, we're that big now that we could get sued. Or you
well, yeah. But so for them to come out and say we're not happy with cross-border matches and stuff, it's interesting because what they've said is up until the end of January. Now the French government and the FFR, the French Rugby Federation, have obviously been in cahoots and said, fuck the club game, we still need the Six Nations to go ahead. And so they're going to obviously review it and look to make it slightly different around the Six Nations, because the Six Nations is effectively in 3 weeks' time, isn't it, the first game? And that's obviously cross-border competition for France. And is it the right decision? Yes, I think it is. I wrote a column for Rugby Pass on it, just saying that actually it makes sense. Just focus purely on your domestic league at the minute, within the restrictions that we're all living under, because we are on a lockdown. If you think of where the game was back in March, April, in terms of the pandemic situation, we're supposedly, figures-wise and cases and deaths and everything, we're in a way worse position than we were back then. And rugby was canned at the time, wasn't it? It was postponed completely. So it makes a huge amount of sense to put that on hold. There's then loads of questions around what should the English clubs do over the next few weeks? Should the season carry on the same? There's loads of moving parts in this jigsaw around, trying to move Premiership games, but then to free up some weekends further down the track for the Champions Cup games and the Challenge Cup games to then be played. But the Pro 14, do they play games this weekend or next weekend? Alongside whether the Premiership clubs do. And you've got to get buy-in from absolutely everyone. If one person at a Premiership club says, we don't think it's the right decision to play Premiership games this weekend where the European games have been cancelled, you can't play them because you can't take the risk. So, it's all very well singing from the rooftop saying we should just move everything. But I think the right decision has come. Obviously, there's financial ramifications around it. You look further down the line, where are they going to squeeze these games in if they aren't cancelling it, if they just postpone it? Well, you can't see a free weekend, and that might mean a midweek game here or there. But that's the decision for the clubs to take further down the line to see where the players are at, because at the minute, obviously, the pandemic is at its most serious point. And you have to respect that and understand that it's a good decision, I think, to postpone these games.
Goodey, you touched on it. The Pro 14 have brought forward Glasgow, Edinburgh, Munster, Leinster. The top 14 have brought forward some games as well and arranged them for this weekend. Do you think the Premiership could have done that? Because there have been calls for that to happen, haven't they?
I think Pat Lam said it, Rob Baxter said it, Lee Blackett said it. Three of the top directors of rugby, head coaches, call them what you will, in the Premiership at the minute in terms of the league table, have said they want to carry on, and rearranging it is fine. But then if you've got one club that doesn't want to do it because they've been, they've got worries, or they've got coronavirus in the camp at the minute potentially, or who knows, it's got to be a one in all in decision. And if Premiership Rugby couldn't get everyone to agree it in a day because of the delay from the French side, then you can't just lob some games in. People are talking about, what about all the cancelled games? Let's put them back in. Well, those points have already been distributed. The club's already signed up for what the parameters were around those points, and we talked about it last week, whether we think it's right or not. It doesn't matter. The clubs have signed up for it and agreed to that on the basis of that is what's going to happen this year, and there's no change around it. So do I think they could have played? Yes, I do. But on the other side, I think if one club, one doctor, one physio or anyone thought there was a risk of it, bearing in mind the current circumstances. And if you can't get full committal from every club, you just can't do it. So it's a difficult decision. We may look further down the track and say, actually, it was a good idea to have, a 2-week block where the players got some rest. And it might be a good decision. But I think for the here and now, unless everyone's on board with it, it's no good just Pat Lam and Lee Blackett and Rob Baxter shouting about it from the rooftops that they could and should have done it. It has to be a buy-in from everyone. And I believe that wasn't the case.
The reason why people are talking for the games to be played, for the Premier games to be replayed, is because the season's already jammed every week. So when the Six Nations comes around, there's going to be Premiership games then, obviously. So if you're a top club and you've got internationals in your team, if they play in these 2 weeks, then they've obviously got their internationals playing in these 2 weeks, which they would have done if they were Europe. So that's why they're pushing for it, because I've read some things, some people are saying, give the players 2 weeks off, they need a break. But for the clubs, going back to the point, you want your best players on the pitch. Come the Six Nations, some clubs are going to be worse hit than others. If players are playing for England, we're talking about the Premiership, obviously. So the team with the most England players are going to suffer massively during that time. So I genuinely do not envy the powers that be, as I'm looking at Rex, the bearded dragon in the cage, not worried about a dicky bird, that these people are trying to put everything together. It's a shit show at the minute. I'm actually surprised we've got anything, like you said at the beginning. You look at the state that we're in as a country, you can't leave your house. I'm jealous for the teams that are playing. There's an air of normality to being in the team sport. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's just week to week, isn't it, as it were? But it's crazy to think the Six Nations is around the corner.
Yeah, one of the funny things, I did see a headline today that a certain Chris Ashton said that clubs don't want a 2-week break. Well, actually, he's been on a 2-week break because he got dropped by Guzzi for Harlequins after his performance against Racing. So
how bad?
I don't know whether he thought he was going to get back in the team this week or what.
He needs a club. He needs a club. That's why.
Worcester Warriors, I think.
That's the rumour.
Yeah. So Ashley said the clubs want to carry on, but he can't get in the team. So there we go.
Jim, you touched on the Six Nations, and it looks like the CBC deal to invest 365 million quid for 14.5% of that competition over 5 years is finally done. But do you think that will go ahead in February, March as usual? Bernard Laporte seems to be confident that it will.
Well, there's a couple of things that you've spoken about then. One that I'm not hugely interested in. Goodey has a lot more interest in the commercial part of the game. He's obviously well read on them parts. Obviously, we know that CBC are coming in. It's going to be beneficial, arguably, for the game because of the money. The one thing around CBC that's come out this week is the talk of where the games are going to be in 2022, the Six Nations. Are they going to be on terrestrial TV? There's a lot of talk that's going to be behind a paywall. That's probably a conversation for another time. But everything we're hearing around the Six Nations is that it's on. So I'm doing the England-Scotland game for ITV. Normally with the broadcasters, they hear quite early and you start to hear rumours and rumblings. My job at Rugby Pass as well. Everything seems that the Six Nations is going to go ahead. The issue comes around the Six Nations is what we saw in the Autumn Nations Cup. Now, it didn't affect that tournament hugely, no disrespect to Fiji, but they had a COVID outbreak and missed all the tournament bar one, the game against Georgia at the end. So, lo and behold, that happens, and fingers crossed it doesn't, but all it takes, and we've seen how rife it is in France, obviously in England at the minute, but everything points to the probability that there could be games that are cancelled, and determining the outcome of that tournament might not come down to every game that's been played and who wins and who loses. It might come down to games being cancelled and postponed. But I think for the health of the game, the Six Nations needs to go ahead. Obviously, it's very sad that there's going to be no fans. I'm hearing small whispers that potentially later on in the tournament, in Scotland, one of the Edinburgh games started to introduce fans. I think there was 1,000 fans at one of the games. Would it be different in Scotland? Would it be different in Ireland? You've got a 60, 70, 80,000 seat stadium. Is there any point in putting 50 fans in, 1,000 fans, 5,000? It looks unlikely that's going to happen. But from everything we're hearing, Six Nations going ahead.
Should we talk about the Premiership?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, go on.
What about the game of the Rick Goodey to start the weekend?
Oh, I mean...
Touch!
Yeah,
that's harsh, isn't it, by saying that? But
it is a bit harsh, but it was a game that to a neutral fan, you know, even to a Bath fan who lost, you know, a Wasps fan, it was great to watch it because, you know, there's been a lot of negativity. I've said it myself around, you know, how the game has been played at times. And, yeah, these boys, there was mistakes, there was turnovers, there was excitement from both teams. And you could look at it and just go, either team could score at any point. And that was what was pretty exciting. You got Eddie Jones in the stand watching it going, mate, just fucking kick it, mate. Why is no one fucking kicking it?
Is he watching it on his phone or not?
Well, he was there, but it's interesting. He was there.
He's on his phone the whole time. Every time the camera pings it, I say that, I maybe saw it once, but let's just say every time the camera went up, he's on his phone.
Yeah, what I found interesting, though, he's there on England duty, obviously, as England head coach. He was wearing an Under Armour jacket.
Oh, no, he weren't.
Yeah, and they've got a deal with Umbro, haven't they? So
brand clash, whatever you call it.
Not great, Eddie. But, yeah, I mean, it was a very cold night. I think these players have, you know, we're going to see, and I said it earlier on in the season, we're going to see, due to the different way the game's been played at the minute, with no fans, with, you know, back-to-back rugby week after week after week, you're going to see some anomalies in results and potential matches. But that was a game where, you know, the flip opposite of what Jim commentated on last week, which was 0-0 after 65 minutes or whatever it was.
It was genuinely quite a good game.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And the bottom line is the Mighty Wasps got 5 points. And, yeah, we're just right up near the top of the table, eh, Jim?
Fair play. One player I want to point out from that game who I heard is going to Montpellier, Zach Mercer, friend of the show. I can't believe they're letting him go. Or, well, I mean, I say letting him go. We don't know what's happening around it. Freddie Burns mentioned something when he was on a few weeks ago. Every time he plays, he's one of the top 5 players on the pitch. 23 years old. I think, and again, the England back row is very congested. I can see why he potentially isn't playing for England at the minute because of the quality that's in front of him. But if you're Bath, how are you letting him go to Montpellier? Maybe 30,000 reasons a month why, but yeah, it'll be a big loss if that's true.
Yeah, that's the only reason you can think, really, because at that age, you know, maybe he looks at the England pathway and it's completely blocked because of the quality. Maybe it's a conversation he's had with Eddie Jones. Just go away, get a few years' experience somewhere else. You know, we are well stocked in the back row at the minute. The big thing is he can't now play for Scotland, but do you reckon he regrets it at all?
Maybe if he goes to Montpellier and he takes the number 8 jersey off Louis Pickapoo or whatever his name is. You know, Louis Pickamoles is still at Montpellier.
Yeah.
Mental. Anyway, does he regret it?
I'm just thinking. I don't think he would say he would. He does regret it, but he could have played for Scotland, right, as well.
He would have been a 50-plus cap player.
How good would he be for Scotland?
He'd be brilliant. He really would. He really would. So hindsight's a great thing, Andrew.
It is.
Hindsight's a great thing. Do you think that guy would have eaten the bat or not, in hindsight?
Whoever it was, whoever ate the bat in Wuhan.
Do you think he would have ate it in hindsight?
I don't think so.
No, I don't either. No.
Unless he had a huge amount of shares in Pfizer or anyone else that's making this.
Or hand sanitizer. My hands are so dry, it's beyond belief, but they're sanitised, which is the main thing.
Well, Newcastle went to the top briefly after their win over Gloucester. How good of a job is Dean Richards doing there, boys?
I can't believe how good your old club are, Andrew. And again, I'm going to say Andrew saved them.
Oh, thanks, Jim.
They wouldn't. Well, he says they wouldn't be in this position now.
Well, they've been relegated since then. That's the big thing, isn't it?
Wow, they've rebuilt. That's all. I love Newcastle. Tough team, always to play against. Tough place to go and play. Littered with good people. And there's been a divide in the northern parts of England's rugby. Newcastle being relegated. Leeds, Tykes, Rhinos, Hippos, whatever they're called, no longer. Carnegie, that's what I was looking for. That's another animal. And obviously Sale not being that great, I think it's brilliant now that Sale have invested in their squad and that Newcastle are flying, big fellas.
It's interesting, isn't it? So obviously you go back and rewind a couple of years. They had a really good season a couple of years ago, didn't they, where they finished in the top 4, got to the semi-finals. I think they played Exeter in the semi-final and lost. A year later, they get relegated. So they've gone down again and come back up. And they've obviously learned from, you know, having a really successful year one year. And then the next year, getting relegated. They've gone and got rid of a few of the older guard in the squad. A lot of youngsters in that team. You look at the team sheet, there's no massive stars in there. Mark Wilson is a star. He's a quality operator. Toby Flood's got a decent pedigree behind him as well. But you look across the rest of the team, you've got absolute grafters in there that are working ridiculously hard for Dino. Dave Walder, the coach as well. Gary Graham's on fire.
He is on fire. Friend of the show.
He is. So, they've obviously, you talk to Dino, you listen to Dino, he's talking about team spirit, togetherness. And that's epitomised at the minute with the situation we're finding ourselves in. And they've won their last 5 Premiership games on the spin. So, it's great to see the tune up near the top, going well. And probably it's all because I saved them about 14 years ago now, I think.
So
Newcastle.
yeah,
I'm joking. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's all Dino.
You guys mentioned him, and the Falcons' main man from the season, back rower Gary Graham, joins us now. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Gary, we're very good, mate. Quality to have you back on. The main reason we've got you back on isn't because of how well you're playing for Newcastle, but the podcast we did with you, it could have been 2 or 3 years ago, was the most listened to podcast we've ever had. So our numbers are dipping slightly, so we thought we need to get back up. Let's get him back on the show.
That's fair enough.
Obviously, as we start talking about rugby, one thing I want to ask you, your amazing beard, you're looking a bit Hagrid-esque. Full lockdown, full growth. That is deep, isn't it? Does that take a bit of conditioning as well?
I don't do a single thing to this. It is like wire wool at the minute, so I'm just a bit rogue with it. I said, I've always had a beard, but it's been growing out, and then obviously since we've been winning, I said I won't shave it until we lose. I know I wasn't playing last week, so I don't count that as a loss for me. Till I lose, personally, I won't shave it.
Beard envy is all I'm saying. Absolutely love it. I've got shit beard, shit chin, and a shit lid.
And horrific breath as well, Jim.
Just talk to us, Gary, about how well things are going. Obviously, been in the shadows for the last year or whenever it was, relegation happened, but unbelievable start to the season, right? I don't think many people saw that coming. You might have seen that coming within the team. We were just chatting about the profile of your team, not littered with superstars, but just tell us why the start of the season's kind of gone so well, bar that game at the weekend. But
I don't really know why it has. I think it's maybe got something to do with obviously we had like 9 months pre-season, which is a good time to get everything nailed down, and so everyone knows their roles and stuff like that. And I don't think it's weird because obviously we had that relegation season, but the season before that we went 4th. We were in the semi-finals. So you go from semi-finals to then in the championship, and then back up. And obviously, I don't know, we're only 6 rounds in or 7 rounds in, whatever it is, but we're up in 2nd place. Just shows that Newcastle obviously we're a good side, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what the difference is, but I think the boys all believe in themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, we couldn't have started any better, to be honest.
Just tell us a little bit about the championship, what it's like. Obviously, I've got a lot of friends at Saracens who might play in the championship if it gets back up and running, but how tough is it playing down there? When things were normal, you were down there playing. There was obviously crowds and long bus trips as well. When you were driving, when you were flying, what's it like down in the champ?
It's fucking bleak, I'll tell you that. It is.
Honest.
I started out at Jersey, but like going from the Prem down into that, you're going into like Cornish Pirates for one. You're getting changed in a fucking 2 metre squared porter cabin in the wet wind and rain, and the ground is a quagmire as it is. And stuff. I didn't play at I can't remember what the team's called now, but basically you've got to do like a mile trek to get to the pitch.
Amptill.
Yeah, Amptill. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing at that game, but like it's horrible. Like especially at times, and playing against those teams, that's the cup final for everyone. Like, everyone's flying into it, and you've got young lads now that are like wanting to take your head off every opportunity. But Saracens will get a shock, like if they ever do eventually play in it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. One thing none of the Newcastle boys will thank you for saying on the interview about 2 seconds ago was you had a 9-month pre-season. That's why you're near the top of the table. No one enjoys a long pre-season. Well, I didn't anyway. But how hard was it actually, you come in and you get rewarded for training well by playing a game at the weekend, right? In season, that's what you look forward to. But how difficult was it in those 9 months of not knowing whether you're going to be playing rugby, when it's going to come, when you're just training for training's sake? Because it must be really hard motivationally when you've got nothing to look forward to in terms of a game at the weekend, was it? Or are you training?
it was so crap because obviously, like at the start of lockdown, you obviously weren't allowed to go to gyms, you weren't allowed to go to clubs and stuff like that. So there was one day where the club opened up and let us steal a few weights of what we could. And then I'd just bought my house, I was renovating it, so it was a fucking shit tip. It was a building site. And when you're waking up in dust, trying to go out to the garden to do a bench press in some dog shit, it's fucking it's not very good motivation. Like, but luckily there was a few of us that kind of joined together and we started like a little running group. So we'd go down to Bladen, which is like a club down here, and we'd run there together. And then Seb de Chavez, he's away in America now, he would come to my house, which was my motivation to get up because he'd want to use my weights. So that was a motivation, but it was, at times it was bleak. Like I would rather be sitting in the house with a red wine than doing some bench press on a bench in the fucking cold.
Yeah, absolutely. You sound the kind of thing that Dino would want to do with a glass of wine instead of weights. We all love Dino, right? Me and Goodey speak hugely highly of the bloke. He was amazing at the start of my career. I just think he's a legend of a bloke. But how was he during the lockdown period? What was he chatting to you guys about, knowing that the season was going to restart at some point? You hear Leicester, they're on Zoom calls constantly going on. What approach did Dino have?
To be fair, there wasn't that much because I think obviously during furlough, you weren't allowed to be in contact with, you weren't employed, so you couldn't really be in touch with them and that sort of thing. So there was a few messages sent back and forth. We had a leadership meeting that would be within a Zoom meeting with the owners, with the owner and Dean and the coaches, and then they would relay that out to us. But there wasn't that much said to before. It was a bit of no man's land. No one really knew what we were doing for a good few months, especially when we were at the height of it all and people were not getting very much money and whatever else.
He's smiling behind the mask now, though, isn't he? I mean, what's he saying to the group? Does he seem like he's surprised with how well that you've started, or is it kind of part of his grand plan?
I don't know. I think I was speaking to him, obviously, in the pre-season. I spoke to him a few times and then we had a good session. And he's quite an easy bloke to talk to, so you can talk a bit of shite to him and he's quite happily play along with it. And then I was saying about just talking shite, saying that we'd finish top 4 and whatever else. And then he was like, yeah, well, definitely top 6. Well, definitely top 6. I think obviously fully bought into it. And I think we did as well at the time. And it's obviously paying now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. You're playing exceptionally well as well yourself, averaging about 20 carries a game this season. Mark Wilson's back at the club as well. That must be great to be have a back row colleague like him, as I've known playing with him up there. He's a salt-of-the-earth guy, works exceptionally hard. Are you two bouncing off each other a lot? And, is there a bit of competition there in training as well? Because I know he likes to train hard.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. He's a freak, eh? Like, he's pretty much translucent. He's got that low skin folds, man. But he's an unbelievable player to play with. Like, him coming back is massive for us because he's our leader. Like, he's obviously doesn't do that much talk. Well, he does do a bit of talking, but he leads through what he does on the pitch and everything he does in training. Like, he's 100% all the time. Like, and it does drive the best out of the rest of us, especially me. So it's good to be back playing with him. Normally, well, in the past when we would play together, he would be at 8 and I'd be at 6 or 7. But it's switched around now and it's going well. Like.
And just one of the other things I was going to ask on that, you talk about back row IP and knowledge. Nick Easter's come up there and taken over the defensive role and seems to be doing a pretty good job. Have you picked his brains quite a lot? Is he still as old and grumpy as he used to be as a player when I played with him?
I don't know what he was like in the past, but he seems to be pretty upbeat at the minute. I don't know if that's because we're winning and we're not conceding that many points that could swiftly change. But no, I think our defensive system now is working really well. We're not conceding that many points. And I think that it is down to him. And he does drive quite high standards. I thought it was going to be because Wells is quite fucking rip your fingers off the ball kind of guy. And I thought Minty was going to be different, but he likes a bit of contact in the sessions as well. So it just keeps you on your edge, I suppose.
I've heard that. Now, it's one of those things you learn as a coach is, you learn about training and what you didn't like doing yourself, but then some coaches go into it and do the opposite. So they make boys like yourself do more of what they hated. Nick Easter never did contact in training, ever. Yet he's turned into a coach that loves it now. What an absolute hypocrite.
Well, I think we were talking about that today, but I think if you turn into a coach, you just be like, fuck it, man, I'm just going to fucking run the boys ragged here. Like, right, full contact, 45 minutes, go. Just because you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a power trip. I think I'd probably do it like. Right, lads, pigs from the halfway line. We're not stopping until you get to try line.
That's a Wellesley special, isn't it?
Yeah, that's peel the fingers off in the middle of them all.
The game's changing, fellas. The game's changing. Yeah. Tell me this as well. So last time we had you on, I'm trying to think what we spoke about. I know we spoke about your allegiances with Scotland or England. We had a little bit of a laugh about that. Tell me what the hell has happened. 1 minute, your flavour of the month. And I'm asking this because one of Dino's comments saying Scotland would be mad not to look at you. Secondly, being quite close to the Scotland team, watching all their games. Matt Ferguson's obviously doing really well. But there's no one really else that brings that kind of carrying ability. You mentioned 20 carries a game that you're averaging. Are you close to the squad again? Have you spoke to Gregor? Like, I mean, what's happened?
I don't know. I don't know. I spoke to them. I spoke to the defence coach a month ago, but that was just like a "Hi, how you doing?" kind of thing, and that's about it, to be honest. But I'm just playing some rugby, man. I've only played obviously I played just to the back end of the season last year in the Championship, and then seems to be my position at the minute. So I don't know, man. I'm just playing some rugby and see where it'll take us.
You're definitely Scottish again.
Well, it depends who offers the most money, but yeah, probably.
Good stuff. We've seen that European rugby has been postponed for the next couple of weeks. Different clubs are doing different things. I heard Rob Baxter talking about he was getting his boys in to train them hard because they've lost the last couple of weeks. In the same vein, you beat Gloucester. You went top of the table for a short period of time. Has Dino given you 2 weeks off, or is it in training? Is there a trip to Dubai like Celtic had planned as well? Is there anything like that going down?
Nah, I wish, but no, we're still in training. I think we're actually just going to be. We've got a session called Down the Mines, which obviously sounds just as good as it.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Down the Mines.
Down the Mines, yeah. Break your back, which is obviously a class.
Can you give us some detail on that? What does that look like? Down the Mines.
It's just a load of shit exercises rolled up into one. You just got to compete to beat the next guy with you. So. It's just a horrible fitness session. So we've got a few of them this week. I'm sure we'll have a few next week. But yeah, it's going to be. We're not getting any break. I don't think we really can, to be honest. We've obviously played Gloucester, and Bristol, but we had a game off against Leicester. I think it's good to get a bit of momentum and keep training.
The other thing I'm going to ask you, one of the fitness coaches, Tim Payne, is he running that Down the Mine session? Because another bloke,
Tim Payne, is not the fitness coach.
He is. He's one of them. Yeah, he never did any fitness in his life.
How is he the fitness coach?
It's like me being a nutritionist now.
I heard he was really fit. Has he not got some genetic mutation in his body that makes him super fit?
Is that what he told you? That's what he told you, hasn't he?
I'm pretty sure that's true. Too many white blood cells or red blood cells, or one of the two.
Of course. Yeah.
Payne looked horrific, but he had an engine on him, to be fair. So how he looked that bad and is now a fitness coach gives us all hope, basically.
Brilliant, fair play.
Yeah, well, there you go. Anyone can do it.
Before you go, Gary, how's your old man? What's he thinking of the lay of the land of rugby at the minute? Because your dad is a guy that's close to my heart as well. He was forwards coach when I got capped for Scotland. He's from the old school mould. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the game at the minute, but your dad's at home. He's back coaching again, is he now?
No, he just retired, so he's not doing anything. He's actually just had a knee operation, so you'll have to send him a well wish. But
I will do. Yeah, what's he thinking of the lay of the land then now, having been a professional coach? Played when rugby was rugby back in the day, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the game now.
He's just. Everything's a bit too soft for him now. He still rings me up every Sunday and tells me how shite I've played. So it's a good man to have in your corner.
What does he want from you? So your dad's there on the corner. He ain't looking for footwork and offload, is he? He's looking for you to monster people and run over them, right? Yeah,
he just wants to be nasty. Yeah, whatever I do, he always picks me up on what I've done wrong rather than what I've done good. So it's a learning thing, but he always, even if I tackle someone hard, he's like, are you pulling out of that? Have you got a sore neck? And I'm flinging everything into it, so good for the confidence. But
yeah, nothing like your dad talking you down when you played exceptionally well. Last thing I'll ask you then, people talk about post-career and all that, and I know you're bang in the middle of it now, you're going pretty well, but I'm hearing that you're training to be a barber, you and your brother.
A barber.
You look like a barber. You are a barber.
Yeah.
There we go. Anything you can do for Jim's lid, because he was going a bit Just put your head down, Jim.
No, my son's has taken off, mate. It's grown back.
And why haven't you sorted out Tom Penny's mullet as well? Because it's horrific.
Well, you say that, but I was the one that gave him that mullet.
Oh shit!
Oh.
No, it's a great mullet. It looks great.
No, it's quite good. Like it's just a good thing to get into, innit? Like obviously, we were doing nothing at the time last year, and the RPA are quite good. They were like, I sent out a lot of courses, and I jumped on it and thought, because I'm an electrician as well, so adding just strings to the bow, you know.
Mate, brilliant. Have you got a name for it or not? Not that you need one, but you kind of need one, something cool like Gary's Barber or something like that.
It's just GG's Barbers.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
There's a bit of alliteration there with the GG. I know how that's your name. That's your name, of course.
All right, Gary. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's great to see you back in the Premiership. Best of luck for the rest of the season and with the Barbers.
No worries. Thank you very much, lads.
Good bloke.
Good bloke, hell of a beard.
Yeah, hard as fuck.
Hell of a beard. He sounds really posh.
I don't reckon he does, mate.
Did he go to private school?
He must have.
No, he didn't. It's George Graham's son. No, he didn't. Well, he might have done actually, but he's salt the earth kind of guys, kind of family. Love the Grahams.
Yeah, hell of a beard on him, and he's playing exceptionally well. I can't understand why Scotland wouldn't have him in the team every day of the week. Like, you follow the Scots, you watch them all week in, week out. I know Hamish Watson is awesome, and all that stuff, but he's got to be in the mix, surely. He's on fire. He's powerful. He's smashing boys. He's carrying big. He's a nutter.
I mean, I've said from my expert view that Scotland are lacking a powerful ball carrier. It's just something we've never really had. Like, we've not got a Vunipola or a CJ Stander or the whole of the French back row. We've just not really got that. Matt Fagerson, who's Xander's brother, he's rocking up. Scott Cummins rocks up as well in the carry. Hamish Watson obviously carries as well. But we need someone who can goo and goo and goo and goo and goo again. So he must be in the mix now. He must be. It's the fact that, he's been in the champ, hasn't he? So maybe he's not been looked at for that reason. But I think that he's the perfect mould for a Scotland number 8, or at least competing with Matt for it.
Well, Exeter have lost their second game in a row since Rob Baxter and Joe Simmons were both given MBEs. What's going on?
Blame the Queen.
Mate, why are you being horrible? Why are you being horrible about that?
It's just a fact.
Andy Rowe is simply here to state facts. Is it the Queen that gives you or offers you an MBE?
Yeah.
Well, it comes from the Queen. Yeah, I don't reckon she sits there and writes a list around who gets them completely. I think there'll be a committee. I don't reckon. Well, I know she picked out Joe Simmons because Eddie Jones won't pick him, but maybe Eddie Jones is right. But no, listen, Exeter, you can't go through what they've been through last year, winning everything and winning game after game, doing the double, and not expect a little bump in the road at some point. Because every team, look at the two teams they played Wasps away last weekend at the Code. They beat Wasps in the final. A bit of extra hurt there from Wasps. Wasps talked about shocking them, being more physical than them. Then they're playing Bristol, who ironically beat them at home last year in the Premiership as well. And Bristol fronted up, fully barred up team, threw a few curveballs in there for them, the driving line out the front off the shift that they wouldn't have seen. And, sometimes, as Rob Baxter says, you just have to get back to what you know best, graft at training. And emotionally, he said they're off the ball a little bit at the minute. So that Exeter team littered with class. They're missing a couple of boys. It's no bad thing for them to lose a couple to make them kind of regenerate themselves at training. Imagine how brutal training is at Exeter this week after getting physically dominated by Bristol's and Wasps the week before.
Well, maybe the COVID thing within the teams is a massive thing in terms of the effect, one, that it has on your system.
Yeah. Obviously,
the organisation that goes around and the training weeks that they can have. But I think more what it takes out of you as an athlete. And, I don't know what the numbers were at Exeter. We heard they were littered with COVID, and they haven't quite been the same, have they? But this is why this season's. It's not a write-off. Is it a write-off?
No, James.
No, it's not a write-off. Why am I being so negative? It's not a write-off.
It's just going to throw up anomalies, isn't it? This year is going to throw up anomalies. Now, Bristol beat Exeter last year at home in the Premiership, and then Exeter go on a ridiculous run and win the double. Things can happen. You can lose games along the way. And actually, I liked some quote I heard this week, and it actually came out of the Bristol camp. and it was, you don't lose, you just learn.
Oh
And,
my!
Oh,
you know,
that's deep.
It is deep.
No, who said it? Someone said it actually, who I quite respect, but.
You win or you learn, or you win or you grow, or something like that.
No, you learn. No, you don't. Oh, it was the 10. Was it? Was it Sheedy or Randall? Harry Randall. Oh, it was Harry Randall, the little lad. It was Harry Randall said that, and I was like, oh my. Again, maybe that's just the negativity in me at the minute.
Well, that's the difference. You're an individual now out there in the working world. They're a team that believes in. The messages that Pat Lam's put into them, and it's working because, let's be honest, you look at that squad, Harry Randall would not be a name that when you list all the players in that Bristol squad, the likes of Luatua, Piatau, Randrandra, Nathan Hughes, Carl Sinclair. Are you fucking serious?
Fucking hell, mate.
You look at, and Harry Randall wouldn't be up there with the top names, but when you look at the performances and what Harry Randall is producing for Bristol and Pat Lam, he's about 3 stone wet through, but he punches like he's a 17, 18 stone big back rower in terms of his tackle, his work rate, everything he does. So in their environment, it's working, and you've got to credit Bristol for how good they are in the here and now.
He's the next England 9, he is, I think, as in long term. We got Dan Robson, definitely. He's going to be there now. I rate Ben Spencer massively, but for some reason, he must have done something after the final with the World Cup. I don't know what he did. All he did was sing the anthem and then went home, and that was it. And he's not been seen since, really. But maybe the way that Bristol play might suit what Eddie Jones wants in the 9, but arguably you've got Youngsley who doesn't really do that anymore. I don't know. Who knows? But
I think off the back of it, people are talking about Exeter losing 2 on the spin. Let's just tip the absolute slipper to Bristol for how they performed. They set themselves a challenge of going down there and being physical, out-muscling this Exeter team. We don't know the full impact of what has happened down at Exeter with the COVID, as Jim said, the knock-on effect physically. But that's all about Bristol being quality, physical, and then you've got the spark when you need someone to score a try. Randrandra steps up towards the end to win it. So Bristol were brilliant.
Well, if you don't lose, you learn. It must have been back to school for Quins. Throwing away against London Irish.
What do you mean they absolutely choked again, Jim? What do you mean by that?
The reason why they choked, the bench, mate, London Irish, they had the joint age on the bench of the non-manscapers of over 80. They came on and did very well.
They had a hell of a lot of caps on the bench, didn't they?
Irish look all right as well this year, to be fair. But from a Quins point of view, who knows? There's just something not right at Quins. Is there? I don't know what it is. And I'm not saying that because...
Who are you blaming?
Rob Shaw.
and if you're not blaming Rob Shaw, who else are you blaming?
Danny Kerr, because he's too bothered about the media.
And who else?
Chris Ashton, without doubt.
And then the last one.
Well, he's the main cause for it. It's the guy who made the chop tackle, and that's all they're talking about now because they drew. Is Joe the podcasting, ball grabbing, apologising book author and media mogul, but plays rugby as well? It's Joe Marler.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just blame it on Joe. But something ain't right at Quins. I don't know what it is because they've got a good team. They've always had a good team and they pull out some big performances, but I don't know what it is. I'm going to say it one more time. I don't know what it is. Let's just blame Marler. He's there. We could have blamed Rob Shaw. Let's blame Marler.
It is a discipline issue, though, isn't it? I think, and it's been ongoing now for a long time. It's bizarre. They get themselves ahead in games and they lose it. Guzzy must be tearing those strands out. He's had a hair transplant, Guzzy. You can't tell because he's pulled them all out from coaching Harlequins for a couple of years. But yeah, it must be very frustrating for him as a coach. And again, imagine you've got 2 weeks. There's nothing worse, I reckon, as a player, seeing a window of opportunity for a coach to train the life out of you as a team because there's no game at the weekend. And the training at Quins, I reckon, is going to be so brutal over these next 2 weeks with no game because they need to. They need to get better. And you want to get better by training out on training field. And Chris Ashton can't get in the team, so I'll blame him as well.
Should we have a look at the rumour mill?
Well, the biggest one of the week, if you're a Mancunian, is, and I'm gutted. If this happens and materialises, which it looks like it is, Alex Sanderson from Saracens to Sale. Huge for Sale. Not great for salaries. IMO. I'm gutted.
What's interesting about salaries because there's a few players that are starting to drift out and leave, aren't there?
Oh.
Well, that Tom Whiteley's gone as well. I know he's
is
not
he?
up front. Like, who's their 9? Yeah, he signed for Bristol's next season.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, Matt. You know
Well,
what?
there's money. Is the money troubles there now, or they've gone from spending it all to?
What do you mean spending it all? They got a £5 million fine. They're in the Championship. That hasn't even started. So I imagine so.
They spent 150 million on houses around London.
Well, it's a great investment apparently. So
Yeah,
everything comes back to 4. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was chatting to a couple of mates about this as well. If you actually think about the players that have got to come back, and everything's pointing to the fact that they are going to come back in Ben Earl, Max Malins, Nick Zikwe at Northampton, and then you look at Marrow, Mako, Jamie George, just to state a few. Owen Farrell, I don't know why I missed him out. Elliot Daly things are going to be all right, but there's obviously a lot happening at the minute, a reshuffle. And look, I'm stumbling about. Alex Sanderson for me is the biggest loss, I think, at Saracens, bar an Owen Farrell or a Maro Toji, just because of what he brings to the environment. Hands down, one of the most engaging coaches I've ever worked with and for, you know, just so positive and just refocusing the team. Now, I know it was easy to do when you were winning, but huge if Sale get him. I think it's massive for them, but from a Saracens perspective, I'm good.
Yeah, and you got to really talk about if it does happen from a Sale perspective. There's 500,000 reasons why Alex Sanderson is going to Sale Sharks. But you look at that Sale Sharks squad and you put someone like Alex Sanderson in charge, who's got empathy, thinks outside the box, a brilliant motivator. You know, the impact, just as an out-and-out forwards coach, you know, I haven't heard anyone ever have a bad word to say about Alex Sanderson. The detail that he brings as well, he could transform Sale into a year-on-year top Premiership team, couldn't he? Yeah. And I think it's hugely exciting for Sale. You know, anyone that's involved in the club. We've had Simon Orange come on here, who was, you know, very upfront and honest with us. A really good guy who I know has put his heart and soul into the club. And you know, Alex Sanderson, a Manchester lad, taking over at Sale, obviously well remunerated for it, and rightly so. Has the potential, with the backing of someone like Simon Orange, who has invested a lot in the club already, to really transform that club into, you know, something long term, which is at the top of the game. They're talking about the new stadium as well, which will have a big impact, and it's a massively exciting time to be a Sale Sharks fan, I think. Will
Pete Anglesey still be there? Because he was there to walk Diamond's dogs.
Yeah, he was. I think he'll. Has Alex Sanderson got any dogs?
I don't think he has, no.
I thought he had a little French bull terrier or something, a little lap dog or whatever. I don't know. Basically, mate, Angie could end up cleaning the cars in the car park. He's got a job for life. He's got a job for life at Sale.
He's a Sale legend, he is.
Any other rumours floating around?
I heard a rumour that I'm not sure about, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I heard Israel Folau to Toulon, and everything that he brings baggage-wise with his homophobia, which isn't on. Can you see that? I'm hearing Toulon are starting to spend a load of cash again.
Who knows? Didn't Bougelard come out and said he wouldn't sign someone like that? Is Bougelard still there or not?
He don't own it anymore. There's a new owner. He sold it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, Bougelard came out and said that he wouldn't sign him if he was there. But, mate, who knows? French, isn't
He's
it?
gone now. Yeah, he's gone now, Bougelard, so maybe...
Well, I wonder what he's doing. Where's Bougelard now? He'll buy another club, won't he?
I can't imagine he will. I think he just fell out of love with it because he had all the success. And it's like anything. Bougelard was in charge and signed absolute worldies from 1 to 15 and beyond, and had the Galacticos. They won everything. And then ultimately those boys, it's cyclical, isn't it? So those boys come to the end of their careers. There wasn't a succession plan. You know, you look at what Toulouse are doing in France with bringing the youngsters through and how good they are now. You've got a shelf life, haven't you? So if you're going to sign all World Cup winners that Toulon did, you're going to win things, but it's not going to be sustainable forever. So I think he fell out of love with it once things started to dip for him, and he wasn't allowed to get his own way. in terms of just having free run of whatever he could say and do around the top 14. So new owner, new signings, and maybe Israel Folau is going there.
Are they looking at anyone else?
The other one that is confirmed is Thomas Francis has gone back to Ospreys, hasn't he? He hasn't got 60 caps. He's had to leave Exeter Chiefs, and he's signed for the Ospreys on a 3-year deal.
That's a talking point. Do you not think that maybe if you're Welsh, you think differently, but do you not think that that's mental? That you need 60 caps and you have to stay in Wales and play for the Dragons? Like, do you not think that's mental?
Well, he's going to the Ospreys, and he's going to be coached by Toby Booth, who's a top bloke. And
Ospreys are doing very well, actually.
They are. But what they try to do is, because they're run by the WRU, that it's union focused there. They're trying to protect their game. So it's like England. It's only like England saying you can only play for England if you play in the Premiership. But it's their way of trying to allow players that have given a massive amount of service to the national team and the regions earning 60 caps. Then they can have the freedom to come and go. Look at Reece Priestland. Playing exceptionally well for Bath at the minute. He's probably going back to Cardiff, but he hasn't been able to play for Wales since he left because he didn't have enough caps. So I get why they've done it. It does seem mad from the outside, but they're trying to protect their game and control their players, with the international game at the forefront of that and the Welsh national team.
Right, it's a new year, but you're still going to give us a riddle in our lives every now and then, aren't you, Jim?
Well, I need one. I don't know whether the millions need it, but I definitely need one just to spike up the adrenaline and just to say that word that we have all so missed. Lads, riddle me this. Carol, thank you for the message on New Year. Riddle me that, Carol. It's that time again. We're back. But it's not just not me being back. It's
in a lake, there's a patch of lily pads. Every day, the patch doubles in size. If it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, how long would it take for the patch to cover half the lake?
Every day, the patch doubles in size. It takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake. Right, so how long would it take for the patch to cover half the lake? Well,
I can't believe you're trying to work this out. It's so easy.
24. It's half.
No.
So if they're in a lake, there are a patch of lily pads. Lovely. But it looks lovely. Every day, the patch doubles in size.
Yes.
So 1 to 2. 1 to 2, 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. 1, 2. I'm still going to struggle to work it out.
It's not hard, mate. They double in size every day. So the day... You just spelt it out there. 1 to 2. So
1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8.
It's doubling every day.
Okay, so there we go. So 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 12.
It doubles every day, right?
Yeah, I know.
So,
I'm trying to work it out. Yeah, okay. So let me do it.
So if it doubles, just listen a minute. If it doubles every day,
yeah,
and on the 48th day the lake is full,
yeah.
How many days does it take for the lake to be half full?
Well, that's what I'm about to work out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm counting.
Every day, the lake doubles.
Every day. Half a day.
Half a day?
In a lake, there's a patch of lily pads. Every day, the patch doubles in size, right? So every day, more and more lily pads appear. If it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, so 48 days to cover, how long would it take for the patch to cover half the lake?
Have you got a pen and paper?
Yeah, I've got a pen and paper. Yeah, I'm trying to bloody draw a lake.
Why don't you draw a lake? Okay, so, and the lake is covered in lily pads on day 48.
Oh, I was doing 48 lily pads in the lake.
Well, there's the problem. You haven't listened to the detail straight away.
Okay, so it's all details, right? Yeah, so there's...
If you work backwards, what would happen, Jim?
Well, there'd be 48... The lily pads would be full in the lake in 48 days.
Right, so can you work backwards from there?
The day before that.
The day before that... Well,
the day before...
I don't know how many were in there, so...
So the day before
if it doubles... Hold on, Andy, right? Hold on. If it doubles every day... The day before that.
So it's one.
One what?
1 day.
For what?
What do you mean for what?
The question is, how many days would it take to fill half?
47.
Hey!
Oh, there we go, lads. It's too easy. That was too easy.
Really?
Yeah. When we break it down, like it just needs clear thinking. It's about teamwork, and that's where I'm struggling with this because I've got no one to bounce off, like the energy and the kind of finer details.
What about the bearded dragon? He must have been better than you at that.
He probably was, mate. But we'll ask him. You will literally, when he is at the end of life, be nearly 60. Is that not crazy?
Yes.
Is that not crazy to think?
Yes, James.
But what is even crazier is that I've just solved that, lads. You've just sent me the riddle. Riddle me this. Riddle me that, Carol. Thanks for the message on New Year's Day. We miss you. Jim just solved it. Lads and ladies.
Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Producer Tim, and thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe on whatever platform you get your podcasts on. Leave us a review and check us out on YouTube as well.
Rugby pod.
Voice of an angel. Pod.